Hey everyone, my name is Lukashin and I am the founder of Started and Nation. Tonight we'll be having an opportunity to hear an amazing story which Nation has been very, very lucky to be a part of, and that is the co-creation of a tech startup between business partners in the US and technical partners here in Serbia. I was very lucky that on one of my travels in New York, a friend of mine and a Nation ambassador, Milos Chitakovic, connected me to a gentleman friend of his who was a businessman from Maryland, who was a big fan of Serbia, and he worked with a bunch of Serbian tennis players who wanted to create a tech startup based on a particular set of customers that he knew about. And those were chiropractors over in the US, which is obviously a huge market. He wanted to find a reliable team that could put the tech product together, whereas himself and his business partner could then build on top of that and build a successful business. And this is all predicated on the notion that here in Serbia we have amazing tech talent, and that we can learn a lot by partnering up with business people from the US. And this is why I find this particular example very compelling. And especially, I would think that this is a great opportunity for all of the engineers in the audience to see how one engineer, in particular tonight, our friend Nemanja, looks at the building of an app or a piece of software, which also is very tightly connected to the context of, well, a business that is being made, and not a business in which he and his partners are a part of, and not just a client project. So having that in mind, I'm going to leave you to enjoy and hopefully learn a lot from this story. And feel free to leave your questions in the YouTube comments, and I will make sure to get back to you. Thank you so much for taking the time for being here, and we'll give it over to Nemanja.
Hi everybody. So as Lukash introduced me, my name is Nemanja, and today we're going to talk about the startup. We started with some nice folks and how we reached from just an idea to the actual live product we have right now. So first off, let me just try to briefly give you like overview of what we're going to talk about. Is the product roadmap we had at the beginning, and the product development timeline which we followed in order to reach what we have right now. And then I'll tell a little bit about the testing and what we do with the app, which is live and running. And then I'll try to summarize everything with just lessons learned, or lessons we learned along the journey. So it all started with Tesla Nation, and that's, I guess, one of the reasons why I'm talking to you. So is the Lukashin who connected me and my partner here in Berkeley in agency. I work as CTO. His name is Vladeta. As I said, like, my name is Nemanja. With two gentlemen in the US. Their names are Ryan and Alan. Ryan is running his own acupuncture clinic. Actually, it's clinics. It's more than one. And then Alan, he's a business person. And I think this was his idea. He met his friend. He friends with Lukashin, so he connected all of us in this journey. So it just started with serious conversations of whose role is what in this, and what we're trying to achieve, and how to basically split, let's say, our jobs in this. So, and after maybe a couple of weeks, we had a partnership agreement, and then we started working on the platform on Clinica. So it's myclinica.com. If you just go at myclinica.com, you'll be able to see our marketing website. There's you can find out more about it, like the features. There's even an about page. You can see the video where Ryan is trying to explain what we do in a really nice way and get more familiar with his business. So I suggest go and check out My Clinica. Also, there's a very interesting story about why it's My Clinica with K and not C. So, but I'll talk about it a bit later. So this is just because of like technical reasons, I'll just give you some screenshots of our website. So this is what to expect when you go to myclinica.com, and then just your typical marketing websites, and then just a couple more screenshots. So please go and check it out. So yeah, as I said in the introductory slide, product roadmap. I wouldn't say this is like the product roadmap which everybody should follow, but this is the product roadmap we followed. So first step was to explore market and customers, and we really took our time with it. It was basically to identify our competitors, identify customers, why we are building this, who's the target audience, and what to do with it eventually. So, and then next step was to come up with MVP features. At the early start, we knew we want to go with a minimal set of features that we knew that are going to be good enough for us. But we also agreed that there will be no customization whatsoever for clinics, for users. So we agreed, okay, it's typical software as a service, and there is no, there's no customization for anybody. So like at least that's how we wanted to start. And then I'll talk a little bit about the tech stack. So that was the, let's say, final step in our roadmap, and that's implementation. And before that, tools we chose and why, and research behind it. So yeah, let's just move on. So as I said, field was the health industry, and more specifically acupuncture. I had basically zero experience in that, but luckily our co-founder Ryan, he's very versed in it. He runs 2 clinics in I think in Baltimore, Maryland area. So he was a lot of helpful in that. We had about a month of talks trying to figure out, trying basically to pass his knowledge on us, at least just a fraction of it, so we understand how people use it, who are normally people who use the apps, and how clinics use the apps. So from that, we identified the multiple, let's say like 3 big segments of clinics we wanted to approach, basically who were supposed to be our customers. We call them A, B, and C. So I wouldn't go more about that. It's Alan who's let's say like his main role was he had like the biggest experience in that. So we just followed what he suggested, and agreed that we should stick with B and C segments. And when I say segments, clinic size, when I say clinic size, I mean that's how we determine the clinic size is the number of practitioners clinics have, and maybe their annual turnaround. But I would say mostly number of practitioners each clinic has, and maybe different locations. And so we just try to tackle, let's say, mid-size and large clinics. So at least that's what our plan is. And then again, since Ryan also runs his own clinics, he has his own problems to be solved, which is, I guess, is the one of good aims for any startup. So that was also really helpful with his inputs on that. And then I'll also just try to just a little bit touch on and just for questions, okay, what we do, what's our monetization goal, how we make money. And the idea was that there is since recently, I'm not sure when it started, but it's in the United States, the acupuncture treatments were they could be covered by health insurance. So it's a really, really complex process, how it works from just, coming into a treatment and then, showing your insurance card to get to clinics, getting the cost refunded by insurance company. So there's a lot of paperwork. There's some agencies who do that, and then there's a fee for that. So just our goal was to basically serve as that agency, basically to do the same thing, but automatically. So clinics who are using our platform, who are using the clinical platform, we hope to provide automatic insurance clearance for them at some point. I'll speak more about it later, but it's a really, really complex field. So I'll just briefly touch on the whole topic, and then what's also important is that there is when I said automatic insurance clearance, right now there is basically no software at the market which has complete automation of that process. There are some semi-automatic tries, let's say, but most of the things is still done manually with spreadsheets and tools like that. Even I would say even spreadsheets is some level of automation in that field. So that was where we recognized the huge potential for us. Okay, so next in the product roadmap was as I said, the feature list. So how it looked for us was that we just started with a big wish list. I said wish list, but it's people who are more in software, it's similar to backlog. We just sat there and had each week we were meeting for an hour or two, or maybe more frequently, and then we just thought we had so many ideas. Ryan was of course he had so many ideas about what we can do, and here I just want to show up I think on the slide it's really tiny because the list is so big, but that was how it was. We had a really, really big list of features we wanted to build. This is what our competitors do. This is what we want to do. This is what nobody does. So let's go there and try to pick the bare minimum of what we can achieve with limited resources we had, with limited with team size we had available at that time. But we knew that what the end goal was, the end functionality, what was the big picture we want to have when it's all done. So we already then at that stage we agreed about we have multiple versions. We kind of agreed, but roughly on a rollout plan that we're going to have a version 1 as a first stage, and then version 2 as a, let's say, second stage, which is going to come later. Which is going to be funded by, let's say, version 1 customers. And then having that in mind, we scoped a feature set for version 1, which you can see here. I'll speak about each feature really quickly. So just so you're just aware of what it's all about, the platform, what we're trying to solve, and technically what were the challenges. So as I said, it's Clinica is mostly its scheduling platform. So it's obviously, logically, the entry point and was the calendar. So it's nothing super fancy. It's your typical calendar, really, really similar to Google Calendar or any other calendar out there, except it's, let's say, if you will, it was enriched with so many additional features really specific to this field, to acupuncture clinics. Here on this screenshot, I'm not sure if it's how good you can see it, but you can see there's some like it's a split screen, so there's a sidebar, some filters, a mini calendar, agenda view, search bar. You'll see next slides how it works, but I'll just try to like really like run through these slides. So, but this was like the main piece, like main component we wanted to build really well, and we took so much time researching this particular piece and how it's. I think we spent even like a month researching and thinking, okay, how this thing should be done, how this thing should look. So see, like there's a split view. By speaking with Ryan, he told us that it's really important that we have split view. Split view, how it's different. That here it's basically like it's on this like one view, like this calendar, for example, you have appointments for every practitioner, but here they're split for. I think here is by rooms. It's not by practitioners, but it's the same analogy. There's a month view for if you want to have like a month, or it's just the same as a Google Calendar. And then day view with agenda. Agenda can be also for per practitioner, per room, per treatment type. You can print it out. So these are some of the features we had in our feature list that we decided we wanna cover. And then there's search. We're really proud about the search feature because none of competitors had this kind of elaborate search. Here it's again it's kind of like tiny. I'm sorry about it, but I tried typing in or something in search bar. It's kind of like it acts as a universal search. So everything you search here, it just gets filtered out in the calendar itself, calendar view. So regardless of which view you're on, you can search for patient names, practitioner names, room names, even notes. I think you can search day of week, so it's a really advanced search. But it's only like, again, it's advanced search in terms of what you can search for, but it's everything's from a one single input field. And there's like filtering in the side menu. So create appointment. This is what happens when you click on the red lower right corner. There's this red dot. So if you click on there, you'll have a create an appointment. We wanted to be smart about it, and maybe this was one of the lessons we learned. This was not. We didn't need to spend this much time doing create new appointment. This in particular, the create new appointment feature, because people are not using that much, and we just wanted to build it. And it doesn't seem complicated from here, but we wanted to build something that works with just keyboard, and it's kind of like has auto suggestions and can predict. For example, here you can see green dots, which are representing that room availability. So all of these rooms are free in that particular, that day and that time. And then it's just like you can do the whole create appointment process can be done from this screen. And I think we just now, when I look back into how much time we spent on it, it could be like simpler. But yeah, it's just like one of the lessons I learned. Again, when the appointment is created, this is what some clinic representative, clinic administrator, what they see here. They have to approve the appointment, and then since they don't see everything, okay, it's appointment view. So from here, they can just cancel, check in someone who is actually in the clinic, and do various things like notify, send some reminders. So we just, this screen and previous, we covered so many features which were listed in the big backlog list I showed you before. So there's a SOAP notes. SOAP notes was the term I first discovered when speaking with Ryan, when I entered this field of health industry, acupuncture. And you can see how the screen looks very different from calendar. This is because this is primarily for touch devices. So here, it's intended for practitioners. That's mostly they use iPads in their rooms, like during the treatment. They can click on buttons. So we really tried to do this as a, this was like done as like with mobile first approach. So we really wanted to make this as streamlined as possible with like really interface which is optimized for mobile users. And unfortunately, there were so many features which we couldn't build regarding soap notes, but we are planning to release it in like next version. And now I see that soap notes is our most used feature, and which most of our competitors, they don't have, which was not done. With this one, we basically tried to reinvent the wheel, which that was a big risk, but I think it turned out good, because other platforms who have something similar, they look pretty like old school with so many buttons and clicks, and it doesn't look like a modern app, or maybe like they really stick to traditional way of doing stuff like this with. So yeah, we have to a lot of proof of this, but I think so far we've been happy with it. So again, there's inventory. It's like really, it came out of nowhere, but it turned out to be like really necessary. It's just like pharmacy, so it's inventory for track and manage stock. So each clinics, they, aside from providing treatments, they also you can also buy some supplements and stuff. So this like simple like management module for it. And then files, this one is a bit also strange, because what we learned that Ryan, he wanted like something called as a marketing module, which took me a long time to figure out what it was. But it was basically like a newsletter platform, but nothing like MailChimp. Most of clinics, how they do it is they just do some documents which they transform to PDF and then put it in Dropbox. And then from Dropbox, they send it with Outlook as an attachments to their patients, like weekly or monthly. And sometimes they also have a lot of files they want to manage, like some contracts and documents patients need to fill in before they're coming to their first appointment. And they need like one stop for that. So this is basically it. Like it's just like a super simple version of Dropbox integrated into the calendar. And then insurance piece, which is here is just like the now, as I mentioned, we don't like there is no automation at the point. So what you can see here, we're just pulling data from soap notes and other places where we have basically from the database, and then just building only insurance specific report. But what's interesting with this screen, like we call it insurance ledger, is that anything can be changed and edited. So it's exactly the same as spreadsheet. You can go here and click on any cell and then update it, and you can then export it as CSV or print it. So that's why it's a little bit special. And then again, reports, I'll just run through it, just not reports. Payment screen, of course, in order to do all of this, we need to do payments. So it's just like the simple checkout, click, and then, credit card checks, stuff like that. I mean, it's way more complex than it seems because there are some external projects, but that's what it is. And then online scheduling, it came at the end, but it's if some of you use Calendly, this is basically really similar to Calendly. Like patients, they can log in and then create their own available time slot and get their appointment in the system. So now I'll just cover a little bit about the tech stack. So as I said, we had like really limited team. And we at that time, what we knew the best was the PHP, JavaScript. So we also had experience with some other similar systems with the same technology. We wanted to build something super fast, and we knew that this setup is going to be reliable. So and we didn't care about scalability that much at this point. So we just opted for Laravel and Vue.js. And then, of course, like a bunch of REST APIs without going in anything like microservices. We didn't want to do like a deal with that. It's just like the REST APIs in the back end and then web client on the front end, no mobile apps. That's it, like super simple. Then this is just a diagram of how the whole architecture is laid out. Maybe if you have any questions about this, I'll be glad to come back and maybe discuss it for any folks out there who are technical, who are coming from maybe like software development. So it's just web clients, it's a Vue.js web app who is consuming calendar. The name is not good. It's a bit misleading because it's one API which does many different things. It even does authentication. Then we have 3 APIs at the moment. But for next version, we are planning to decouple that a little bit. So yeah, I'll be glad to touch on this after presentation. And then I need to mention our team. It's we have 2 developers. Their names are Dragan and Nikola. So cheers to them. And our lovely designer Mariana, who I spent most of the time working on designs and UX in the beginning. So also cheers to Mariana. So I'll just go over timelines. So this is exactly how the timeline look like for us. So we started with first of course discovery phase, and we're researching different. We took our time with this one. I didn't want to rush out, and I want to have everything like really properly laid out. So it was when just search user roles, input devices. Why is that important? Because we knew that it's not average like typical web app. So people are going to use different strange devices. And then again, like that question, should we follow what everybody else is doing or just reinvent something? I'll mention some of the features where we decided to reinvent, but mostly everything else was, calendar. There is not that much to reinvent. So it was, I think, like a good mix of both. And for next step was the prototype. Prototype is super important piece in every software, in every application, anything we do. So we always start with the prototype. We use it for for so many things. Here we just use Figma for people who want to ask what we use for prototyping. With this one we use Figma. So I know it's not like a prototype tool per se, but it works for us. What we just started for, it's really good for visualization, for visualizing things. So also it shows like really good interactivity where we can check user flows, where we can map maybe some pieces where we are doing some things wrong. And that's also like why I have like sanity check here. Like sanity check was the most important thing for me, just to see before it's too late that something's wrong when we are going in the wrong direction. And then also it's really, really good for collecting feedback before something is actually being implemented, because something is built. And then later on, after we go to implementation, we use prototype all the time as a baseline, as a reference for any future features, for anything. We always are coming back to prototype just as a like, let's say like master copy, I would say. I would say something like that. So after having prototype done, I mean, like it's never done, but after having the version of prototype which we were happy with, we moved on to identifying and building visual components. So we just started building started picking out something like as Lego pieces, the components which we could reuse all over again. Since we had really, as I told you before, since we had really, really limited resources, we knew that we cannot have designer all the time with us. So we had to build something components we can reuse. And there were also features we didn't know we were going to have in the beginning. So that's what it was about. And I really like working with visual components. So I think we'll just, whenever we can, we'll also use them in other projects. So after we had that, we moved to like defining the implementation schedule we wanted to stick with, and then that was it, like tech research. We set aside some time just for doing research without actually starting implementation or anything, and it was probably like 3 weeks for tech research. We wanted to really to have like really detailed view of existing technologies out there, libraries, if we can reuse some, especially calendar piece. Because there was too many information to be displayed on calendar, so we knew we had to build something custom, but we didn't want to go too custom, let's say. And then I mean, like we were testing different solutions about the browser performance, rendering times and stuff like that. So it took us 2 weeks to a month just doing tech research. And then after that, we started building our CI/CD. With this one, we opted because we work a lot with Forge. So we just had Forge as a like quick solution for just giving us like kickstart. But then, of course, we already thought about, okay, what we're going to do like in future. And then we started building API mocks because we also wanted to start working on the client before we even had APIs. So API mocks, I really like working with API mocks. So that's why I also suggest doing that. Then a web client, building auth. Okay, this is just like a timeline of a schedule. So, and then as I showed you before on the diagram, maybe you remember there were only 3 APIs. So these are calendar, inventory, documents API. And then we saved payments piece for the end because we just didn't know it's going to be like the app on itself, how it's going to be done. I didn't have just enough information for this one, and I couldn't do any proper research on it. So we just said, okay, let's leave it for when we are almost at the end. So infrastructure, this one is really to be like a talk on itself. So I said in the beginning that we had to, with this one, we entered medical health industry, like medical field, which we didn't have much experience before. And there was, when we speak about it, people who are familiar with it know that there's a big concern about data privacy because we have to deal with patients' data and lots of sensitive information. And there is one thing called HIPAA compliancy. I knew about it from the start. I've done some research, but I was not completely sure how are we gonna tackle it, how are we gonna do it. So I probably spent 3 months trying to figure this one out and what's the best way to do it. Should we try to do it ourselves? We even hired some agency in the US to consult us, consulting agency about who are just doing HIPAA consultancy. What to do with it? What's the best way? Are there any industry best practices? And eventually we went with AWS, and we were even in talks directly with Amazon about it. And what we do right now is basically we just pass responsibility to Amazon. It's not fair to say that, but basically we are just hosting everything on Amazon. We have to rely on Amazon and their HIPAA compliant instances for everything we do. So even now when we are in beta phase, let's say, every clinic we have had the same questions, and it was just about privacy and are we HIPAA compliant. So that I'm not shocked with that. It's far to say, but I'm surprised that that's the main topic. That whenever it's also presenting the platform to new clinics, they always ask about HIPAA. So yeah, that's really sensitive topic. And then again, privacy and legal, that's also kind of it's connected, but probably this one is I'm not familiar with it. It's about US laws. We also spent some time with it, but I guess not enough. And in future, maybe this is like privacy and legal is also where we want to really, really invest more of our time in, and to have, I guess, every information we could have, like to be able to answer all the questions we could potentially get. And then right now, where we are at is version 0.1. So, but let's say we released it, I guess maybe a month ago. But before that, we were in a 0.9 version, which I call it 0.9 now, but at the time it was version 1.0 version. And we had it for, I'm sure, maybe even 2 to 3 months. And we decided to do it that way. So we are sure that we go to, we implement all the feedback. Okay, I'll just, when I said, like, maybe you remember on the initial slides, I said, like, it's field testing. This is what we wanted to do with this one. So I'll just explain, spend a bit more time to explain 0.9 version, why it's really, really important to have something like this. Okay, how we decided to do is that we had a fixed number of test clinics, and they were already familiar with what we are doing, and that they're just testing the platform. It was not live. We gave them logins, and we divided them in 2 groups. One group had information about what it was all about. Basically, they had some sort of demo. And the other group had nothing. They're just given logins and go there and log in and try to play around. And then we captured all of their feedback and compared these 2 groups. But we didn't capture their feedback all at once. It was like gradually in some increments. And we were, during these couple of months, we were implementing every feedback we found important, or we found repeating with every clinic back into the platform. So that was really useful, very fun. And I think it's super important. We actually can never, me personally, I've never done that phase before, but I think it's really, really good. And why I have monitoring here, when I say monitoring, I literally mean technically monitor what's happening in the background. So we had, of course, like I guess most of you are familiar with tools who are doing that. So we had some, we're collecting all of the error logs, and then trying to track all of the errors, exceptions, and on every API, on client, and then going there and fixing. So it was like the month or 2 during this phase when we had pilot version was very, very intensive for all of us, and very useful. After 0.9 version, we moved on to version 0.1. As I said, it's what we have right now. So it's still indentation only, but it's live. It's live environment, and we decided to go with no payments for version 1. At least not for now. We'll probably roll out payments in the near future. But it's not because payments was not ready. It was mostly because the clinics who we decided to invite for beta version, they were not ready to just move directly to new payments method, to new platform. So they wanted that to be more of a gradual process. So that's why we still don't have no payments activated yet. And there's another thing, which is the insurance piece, insurance module. It's still just manual processing of insurance clearance at the moment, but that's I hopefully will change with version 2. So if anybody remembers still that before we even started building, before we even started implementing, we as partners and like every co-founders, we agreed that we want to have version 1 and version 2. Version 1 is going to be just like minimal version with just essential features. We just want to have platform which allows clinics to schedule appointments, to put data in, financial data, like to have payments. So then later on with version 2, they can use the same platform and then have all of the insurance paperwork done by platform for them. And then there is, of course, like a learning curve for us in between these two versions. And hopefully I expect to have version 2 maybe end of this year with some of the insurance automation and ready by then. Of course, more features in there with from the backlog, from feature roadmap, of course, and many more clinics. If it's necessary, we'll also try to reorganize our tech stack a little bit, and that is probably going to affect the diagram I showed you before. So yeah, we'll see what future brings. Lessons learned, I kind of like already mentioned that some of the lessons we learned so far, but I'll just try to like recap some of them, maybe bring something new. So first lesson, it was just at the early beginning, is like choose wisely domain name. I think it can be changed later, but it's much easier if you just have like you just like go there and search and choose proper domain name, because I guess it's really important, even though it sounds as some trivial thing. I still think it's very important. And then set aside enough time to do like research. It's not waste of time. It's gonna pay off lately multiply. So it's just like proper research is really important, and I'm glad we spend that much time doing research before going heads in first. And then when they say like MVP, it's really should be minimal. So I guess that you heard this a million times before, but it's really what it is. It's like minimal features to have something running, to have a basic functionality ready. So yeah, it's don't try to build the stuff which you didn't want to build at day one. And then testing, feedback. Remember the slide about the 0.9 version? I feel like that was the most important thing, at least for me, in learning what we have done wrong, what's good. And I guess, yeah, that would be it. Yeah, if maybe I missed something, yeah, I guess there'll be in comments or so. Thank you. Now if you need to ask me anything, it's my email. You can find it here, and I'm free to please feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll be glad to answer any suggestions you have. You can do now or just shoot me an email. And if you need a demo of the app, yeah, it can be done. It's possible to do.